Hello, everyone. Welcome to IDGAF 1984. My name is Jeff Metric. For those of you who don't know who I am, this is my channel where I talk about everything that goes on in society and just how we need to really not give a fuck anymore about it and start living our own lives for ourselves. Now, before we get started in this video about ESGs, which are a very interesting topic, I think more dystopian than anything else, but that's just my personal opinion. I'd love to know what yours are in the comments. Please go back and watch any of my other videos, like, comment, subscribe, share. And if it seems a little stilted today, it's because I'm reading from a teleprompter app just because I want to get my thoughts in order so I'm not all over the place. Please critique me and let me know what y'all think of this. So, what is an ESG? That's an acronym not a lot of people have probably heard of before. It stands for Environmental, Social, and Governance. And its practices have gained significant traction in recent years with organizations as they strive to align their goals with sustainability and social responsibility. While the underlying principles of the ESG may be commendable, which I don't think they are, but that's just my personal opinion, but I'm going to be somewhat responsible. They seem like they are, but when you dig deeper, they're actually not. It is crucial to objectively analyze the potential drawbacks associated with this approach. This essay aims to highlight, and I wrote this as an essay, so. This essay aims to highlight the reasons why ESGs can be perceived as detrimental for both companies and individuals. And it's really not perceived, but I want to put perceived in there to be a little more balanced. I don't think they're beneficial. I think they're very detrimental to people and companies and the environment and anything else they want. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, ESG is about control. Now, tomorrow I'm going to do another video, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that at the end. The first point is limited financial returns. And we all know this as business owners. I'm a former business owner myself. Implementing ESG practices often require financial investments and adjustments that may not guarantee an immediate return. So if you're investing millions or billions of dollars into an ESG to get certified, which I'll talk about later in this video, you're not guaranteed a return on that investment, and that's shareholders' money that's like, okay, I want a return on my investment. I don't care about your politics. I want to make money off this because that's just how I function. And I know a lot of people, if they were really honest with themselves, would say the exact same thing. But society doesn't want people that are brutally honest. I'm brutally honest. Go back and watch my video on protected classes. It's the video right before this one. Go back, watch it, and you'll see that I'm brutally honest, but I'm objective. And I'm also very logical and scientific. Now, critics argue that this diversion of funds towards environmental or social initiatives can hinder the company's profitability. Yes, that is very correct, because short-term profitability matters as well, just as well as long-term growth. Additionally, the ESG criteria may restrict investment opportunities such as fossil fuels, nuclear energy, which you would think they would be like, oh, that's very environmentally sound having nuclear fuel. You don't have any costs associated that you have with solar. Because when a solar panel burns out, people just throw it away, but it's supposed to be treated as hazardous material. Wind farms don't really work. They fuck with the bird migratory pattern. They kill birds. So how's that environmental? But nuclear, oh wow, we can actually do stuff. You can use many different types of reactors to reprocess the fuel to get more energy from it, but we don't want to do that because we're scared of Chernobyl's 3 Mile Islands, Fukushima. Here's the thing with those. And this is going to be a separate video. I'm going to talk about like how safe nuclear energy actually is. And those were a lot of older reactors, particularly 3 Mile Island and Chernobyl. Fukushima was a new reactor. They're actually coming out with like Gen 3, Gen 4 reactors that scram automatically and that stop a reaction. And it's just so neat. But people are scared because of the past. And when you look, death per kilowatt hour is actually almost zero. But I'll break that down in more detail. Now, as I was saying, there are certain things you can't invest in, like oil, natural gas, stuff like that. And this can potentially lead to limited diversification and reduced returns for investors. Because let's be honest, fossil fuels, coal, oil, natural gas, are insanely cheap to produce. They're very abundant. They're what's going to help third world countries actually develop. Not solar, not wind, none of this other bullshit that the people on the left and these environmental wackadoos want to tell you. So that's where it hurts society as well. When you have ESGs, it's also about control. And the second part, there are like 4 or 5. The second is misalignment with core business functions. Because let me ask y'all, and I'm going to give you the answer. This is just kind of rhetorical. What is the sole legal, moral, and ethical obligation of a business? To return money to its shareholders. That's its sole responsibility. Everything else is just gravy. But that's its main responsibility, is to return money to its shareholders. And the second one is misalignment with core business functions. While ESG principles promote wider social goals, they can sometimes overshadow the primary objective of a business. Companies may be forced to prioritize ESG criteria, hiring less than competent people into different places because, oh, we need 50% of boards to be female. Yeah, if you're not competent, I don't want you sitting on a board of a company that I own. Sorry, you don't qualify. Or all this other stuff, inclusion officers, and all this other stuff that is just useless six-figure positions at the end of the day. Companies, to me, are amoral creatures. They have no morality. They exist to make money. Bottom line, we as consumers have a right to choose whether we want to work with those corporations, but that's going to be another video as well. I'm coming up with a lot of great ideas. But back to topic. Companies may be forced to prioritize ESG criteria over core functions, shifting their focus away from maintaining competitiveness and generating value for stakeholders. This misalignment can hamper an organization's ability to adapt to market demands and ultimately jeopardizes survival, putting the employees' jobs and financial stability at risk. But yeah, let's worry about making sure we have the right number of the right sex and the right race on a board, but don't care about the employees that this may affect and cause them to lose their job and lose their livelihood. But we got social programs for them. Don't worry about it. Or when the coal industry was starting to go down in Appalachia, you had people at Vox go, hey, learn to code. Yeah, and then you see where that got you. But moving right along. Now we're going to talk about a lack of standardization, and that's the problem we're going to talk about with a social credit score tomorrow, which is the video for tomorrow. One of the significant challenges associated with ESG is the absence of standardized metrics and reporting framework. Currently, there is no universally accepted standard for measuring and reporting ESG performance, and there never will be because countries have different ESG standards. But you have people at the WEF and the UN that want to promote one universal ESG that totally disregards culture. What one culture values, another culture doesn't. Deal with it. So, the lack of uniformity can lead to difficulties in comparing companies, resulting in unreliable assessments of their sustainability efforts. The absence of standardized criteria also increases the risk of greenwashing, where companies may deceive stakeholders by presenting superficial or misleading ESG data, undermining transparency and trust. So why would we even give them the option to greenwash? Just let them be honest. Screw what ESG says. If I'm making money, who cares? If I'm damaging the environment, guess what? People can decide not to buy from me. And then I either have to change or go out of business. Either or, it doesn't matter. But that's where the free market comes in. That's going to be another video I'm going to do. There should be a lot of videos coming out. I'm trying to hit them every day, but I have other stuff that I have to do as well. Part 4. Increased regulatory burden. As global awareness of environmental and social issues grow, but you notice we only look at that from the Western perspective. Social issues we have in the West, people in Asia, the Middle East, they don't have them because they don't care, because that's not their principles, that's not their values that they grew up with, and that's not the history of their cultures. So we just need to deal with it and not try to impose ESG from the West on everybody, because we have no moral authority to do that. We're just being a bully, but it is par for the course. Everyone's a bully in this world at some point. Regulators are actively pushing for stricter ESG-related compliance requirements. While this may seem like a positive development at first, the increased regulatory burden, also called regulatory capture in the U.S., it's actually in the trillions of dollars, but that's another video as well. Burden can impede innovation and stifle entrepreneurial spirit. Compliance costs can disproportionately affect smaller businesses. Wow, ESGs would actually favor big businesses, but disadvantage small businesses because the big business can afford the ESGs. Small business mom and pops can, but we don't want to worry about it. We don't want to fuck over the small business owner. We just want to make sure the big businesses can keep getting the cushy handouts and regulations in their favor. Yeah, that's how a free market works. That's not how a free market works. But I'm going to explain more about that in another video. Compliance costs can disproportionately affect small businesses, as I said, hindering their ability to compete with more established companies. Furthermore, excessive regulations can discourage investment, limited economic growth, and job creation. And you know who that's going to affect the most? The minority communities. Yeah, that's going to affect them the most. But we don't want to talk about that. I'll go over another video about minimum wage. It's really an interesting video on the history of it. And we get to the fifth and final one, and then I'm going to have my conclusion. Ethical delusion. Paradoxically, ESG practices can sometimes lead to ethical dilemmas. The implementation of third-party ESG ratings and rankings can create an environment where companies prioritize their reputational image. We just got done with Pride Month, and you saw every corporation had the Pride flag in their logo somehow, some way, Pride colors. But then come July 1st, nope, back to the old one. Isn't that funny how it works? They patronize the minorities and the disenfranchised, but then they just go right back to their old ways. They're like, we threw them their cookie. They're going to buy from us. They think we're real woke. Yes, no. It's a bunch of bullshit. Their reputational image and the perception of conformity rather than genuine ethical behavior. This emphasis on outward appearance. See, because we as people generally tend to focus on outward appearances of being socially acceptable. I'm kind of done with that at my point in my life. I really am. I don't have to be socially acceptable. I do options trading. I do I do Uber. I don't care. I'm going to be authentically me. I'm going to speak my truth because my truth is based in logic and facts, not emotions and feelings. So just remember that. This emphasis on outward appearance might lead to ethical delusion. Decision making become driven by the need to satisfy external stakeholders rather than fulfill the company's true ethical obligations. Budweiser, Target, you bent over to the woke Ford. Y'all bent over to the misspoke. You bent over to the alphabet mob and let them bend you over a barrel. Budweiser, Bud Light, let me ask you a question. The LGBTQ community, how many in there drink your product? Not a lot. But how many people that work in a steel mill, coal mine, drink your product? A lot. You pissed off your customer base because you wanted to appear woke and socially inclusive. And then you go on and try to damage control and you fail at that. Brilliant. Congratulations. As DJ Khaled said, congratulations. You played yourself. So, that's one of the things. Ford, the same way with the rainbow colored F-150. How many people in that community buy a truck? Not a lot, I would bet. But a lot of farmers buy your truck and you piss them off. They don't care what someone's gender is. They don't care how they identify. But when you push it down their throat, they have a problem with that because you're saying pandering to 1, 2%, 3% of the of the population is more important than keeping your core base happy. Congratulations, you played yourself again. But moving right along. And we're gonna wrap this up as this video is getting kind of long. While ESG principles aim to foster sustainability and social responsibility, it's important to acknowledge the potential downside they may pose for companies and individuals. The concerns raise limited financial returns, misalignment with core functions, lack of standardization, increased regulatory burden, and ethical delusion warrant careful consideration while implementing ESGs. I don't think they should be implemented, period, but that's just me. Striking a balance between responsible business practices and maintaining competitiveness is crucial. No, it's not responsible business practices. It's maintaining competitiveness because this is a economic world. It's either you produce a good and service and it's something people want, or you don't and you go out of business. Nothing else other than that. Ensuring that ESG efforts do not inadvertently create adverse consequences for organizations and the people they serve, however they do. Because it's all about control. And that's where I'm going to get into with the social credit score tomorrow and explain a lot of the hazards of the social credit score, which I'm ardently against, but we already have it soft-shelled in this country with being shadow banned on YouTube, shadow banned on Twitter, shadow banned on Facebook, all these other things that are just, oh, you say the wrong thing, you offend the wrong people. Well, guess what? I'm going to wrap this up real quick. If you're offended by anything I've said today, figure out why you're offended. Don't blame me. I'm just speaking some facts. You're offended. figure out why you're offended, and fix it. Because no one owes you to not offend you. Have a great day.